In the all-measured world of K-pop, where every move of idols is often the result of a well-planned choreography, an unexpected moment arises from behind the walls of a military barracks' space that is usually sterile from the bustle of the public. Jungkook, the youngest member of BTS, cried while apologizing to Park Jimin, his best friend and group mate. Not in concert, not in an interview, and not for a piece of content. This happens in silence, and precisely because of this, its echoes echo much wider. Why does a world star who is used to looking perfect feel the need to humble herself to tears in the face of the only person who might really understand who she is behind fame? This question ignited the curiosity of fans around the world, especially after a 43-second voice recording appeared anonymously on an online community forum. In the recording, a voice very similar to Jungkook's is heard broken by emotion. "Young man, I'm too stubborn. I thought I could handle everything, but I hurt you instead. I'm sorry." There is no background music, no dramatic edits. Only sobs and male voices are at a loss for words. The footage spread quickly, eliciting a response from millions of ARMY nicknamed BTS fans who have come to know the two men as symbols of strength and friendship. The incident reportedly took place at the 5th Division Military Barracks, where both were serving their mandatory military service. An anonymous source who claimed to be a unit with them shared the context that psychological stress during training was the catalyst of the emotional incident. Jungkook, who is known to have high standards for himself, allegedly experienced emotional outbursts and had sharp words for Jimin. But what shakes the world is not the conflict, but the courage to admit mistakes and the pain that comes with them. Jimin's reaction, according to the testimony of the same source, was so calm. He neither forgives nor repents. He just kept quiet, listened, and then put his hand on Jungkook's shoulder in silence. Small acts that reflect emotional maturity are extraordinary, especially in a military environment that is usually harsh and leaves no room for emotional expression. Many fans considered this not just an interaction of two idols, but an exemplary example of how human relationships should be lived, with empathy, courage, and sincerity. Not long after the incident was circulated, 2 handwritten messages also began to be shared in the ARMY community, allegedly from Jungkook and Jimin. In a letter addressed to his agency staff, Jungkook wrote, "I am not a perfect human being, but I want to be better. And for that, I have to start by admitting my mistake to the person I respect the most, Jimin Hyung." While Jimin, in a personal note purportedly addressed to his family, wrote that he no longer sees Jungkook as a little brother, but rather a grown man who is trying to face his deepest side. But as sympathy increases, so does doubt. A number of media outlets began to question the authenticity of the recordings and letters. They stated that there has been no official confirmation from Big Hit Music, the agency that oversees BTS. No video, no public recognition. Only voice fragments, narrative pieces, and mass emotional interpretations. Some people even said that this could be part of a narrative that was deliberately formed to keep public attention on BTS during their military vacuum. Are we witnessing a real moment born of sincerity? Or are we being carried away by sensations that algorithms form? Such an intense public response to this moment reveals a lot, not only about Jungkook and Jimin, but also about our society today. Fan art, digital poetry, reaction videos, and even documentary-style fan fiction began to appear within hours of the footage circulating. An overwhelming sense of empathy poured out, so strong that it made the line between reality and artificial narrative almost blurred. In a world where emotions can be virtualized and tears a commodity, it's hard to tell the difference between a heartfelt story and a curated one. But does this mean that emotions are not valid? Does the cry become less meaningful just because we don't have official evidence yet? This is where the complexity of this moment finds its place. Even if this event turns out not to be what was imagined, or even never happened, the reaction of millions of people remains real. Empathy is flowing. Reflections on the meaning of apologies and the importance of healthy relationships remain relevant. The emotions transformed into works of art by fans from all over the world are not the result of engineering, but rather a manifestation of the emotional bond that has been built over the years between BTS and ARMY. If the moment did indeed happen, then Jungkook and Jimin have shown something far beyond fame: the courage to be honest amid the pressure, and the strength to forgive unconditionally. If it is just a carefully composed story by a party that understands the psychology of the masses, then it becomes a mirror for all of us. How easily our feelings are mobilized by unverified narratives. We live in an era where everyone can become an eyewitness, journalist, or even the creator of an alternative reality with just one upload. So the bigger question now echoes: do we believe because it is true, or because we want it to be true? Despite the factual truth, one thing is indisputable: the moment of Jungkook crying and apologizing to Jimin has become symbolic. A symbol of vulnerability, maturity, and strength in building sincere relationships. Amid the glamorous world of entertainment, this story, true or not, reminds us that idols are, after all, people, and perhaps, precisely because of that, they can touch our hearts so deeply. As the collective emotions of the world are touched by the news that Jungkook, BTS's global star, cried and apologized to Jimin in a military barracks, an urgent question begins to arise in the minds of many. Is this real? Or is it just a neatly curated story to arouse sympathy in today's digital world? When viral narratives can spread faster than official clarification, we should hold back for a moment. We have to ask, are we witnessing the truth, or are we being part of a perception game created by algorithms and social media? This article, like many similar narratives, is sourced from snippets of information spread across TikTok, Twitter, YouTube Shorts, and several fan community forums. But none of the pieces has yet been thoroughly verified. Where do you stand on this? Do you believe this story because it touches your heart, or because the evidence is irrefutable? Let's delve deeper. The 43-second voice recording that became the main source of this event was not authorized by any party, not by Big Hit Music, not by the South Korean mainstream media, not even by the BTS members themselves. Why is it so easy for us to believe it? Is it because he sounds like Jungkook? Or because the story feels like something we want to believe? We need to ask, how much can our desire to believe something affect the way we interpret weak or even non-existent evidence? This phenomenon shows one important thing: emotions sell. Tears, apologies, and friendships tested by extreme pressure are very powerful themes in building attachment, especially when it comes from two members of BTS, a group that is not only popular, but also emotionally connected to its millions of fans. So it's no surprise that news like this instantly creates waves of support, emotional reactions, even digital artwork and video analysis from fans that sound more convincing than official news reports. However, this is the moment where we must stop and ask, is this really the case? Or are we stuck in a meticulously crafted narrative? We need to realize that the South Korean entertainment industry is a highly organized machine. Every appearance, interview, and even the idols' military breaks are designed to maintain an emotional connection with fans. So it's not impossible that narratives like these, even if touching, can be part of intentional communication strategies rather than spontaneous incidents. We must be honest. There is no concrete evidence that this moment happened. There are only voices that have yet to be authenticated, handwritten letters that have never been officially published, and a growing narrative based on anonymous testimony. Why didn't any of the major media follow up with a serious investigation? Why did Big Hit Music choose silence? And more importantly, if this really happened, why was such a dramatic moment not immortalized by the official media, or at least confirmed internally? Now, let's encourage ourselves to be more reflective, DOE, as consumers of information. Really verify before spreading stories like this. Are we aware that our interest in stories of emotion and tears can be exploited as a covert marketing tool? And if it's true that these are all just illusions driven by algorithms and collective emotional expectations, then we have to ask, are we willing to be part of a system that manipulates our empathy for engagement and clicks? Not that we should be cynical about every piece of information that touches the heart. But skepticism is a form of intellectual responsibility, especially when the information has the potential to shape public opinion, stimulate a mass emotional response, or even strengthen the bond between celebrities and their fans in a non-transparent way. Nor can we turn a blind eye to similar patterns that have occurred in the past. In many cases, moving stories that go viral on the internet with tears, hugs, and emotional reconciliations later prove to be fictional stories, covert PR campaigns, or even manipulative content that utilizes actors and voice dubbing. Then again, the question is, are we responding to a true story, or are we being fooled by digital narrative expertise?